All right, we're gonna jump right into this today, guys. Shout out to the stream sponsors, guys, over at CoinCatch and Breakout Prop. CoinCatch is the exchange that we use for trading. They have great listings. They have no VPN, no KYC. I think they're one of the better exchanges out there. They are sponsoring the Bitcoin event at the end of the month this year in Vegas. If you guys are here or you're coming for it, please let me know and we can link up. Also, Breakout Prop, they are probably the best prop firm for the crypto industry, in my opinion. They have great listings to be trading, and it's just a great place to learn if you don't want to use your own capital. So this is really what we're looking at for NPOC levels. And again, right, what did we have in this area? I think from a while ago, we had a short hedge up here, and this was 2-3. So a couple of months ago, this is where we wanted to short hedge in this area, right? 104, 101, 107. This is the resistance point that we would potentially short at. Now, my fingers are off the short trigger, and it's been this way for a while, right? I hedge a little bit every now and then, but my strategies are mostly waiting for red days and buying dips and then selling into green days and then waiting for it to happen again, right? But as of right now, the shorts, really have been blown out of the water, right? I think our last two short setups that we had were in this 95, 98 NPOCs. Got a little bit of downside after the 95, 7, 5, 6 NPOC level hit, but again, this just isn't an area that I really want to be hedging short at. But that's really all we're looking for right now, so we can continue to create setups within BTC going forward, right? So this is where we're gonna find like our retest levels. I think that's what a lot of people are interested in. And when can we be buying next? And we'll go over that. So we do have an NPOC print from a couple of days ago right here at that 99492, right? So that is where we have our next NPOC level to the downside. So what does that mean? Well, that means that's where I kind of create or look to create my next long entry. Something like this down below retest of 100K and then that move to the upside. So again, not really willing to long anything right now. It's not that I don't think prices are gonna go higher, but as far as like where we are at this point in time within the charts, it's just I would like to have a little bit of a retest lower. Again, shorting, I don't know what you guys want. I don't know how you're trading this, but this is a resistance level. Like if you're shorting or if you are short biased, this has been where you should be considering a short, right? The opposite of what everybody was wanting to short this down here, 82K, 76K, 75K, right? But that's where we created multiple long entries, right? We created a shit ton of long entries down at these lows, right? I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, we probably have 5 and 6 within lower term time frames. So this is where we're wanting to long. That's not where we're wanting to short. Now that we're getting back up at all-time highs, it's the exact same thing, but the opposite. This is where everybody wants to buy, everybody wants to get long. And again, this is just not where I am interested in buying Bitcoin, right? I want a little bit of a retest lower. So this would be our next short entry, and just overall within this area is where I think Bitcoin is a decent short hedge, right? I just think that overall, if you are on the short biased time frames, if you are on like the short bias and you think this is just a bearish retest, this is where you want to be shorting. Again, I will keep you updated on if I do decide to hedge or short or not. As of right now, I don't want to. There's no point for me to short. I have been doing really well with having patience for the downside to be able to long into. So I'm going to stick to what's working. But that's really what we're looking for on BTC right now on the current time frames. We do have NPOC prints lower at 94.91. Like we created those long entries as well. If we do get those retests, again, that's where I'm going to be buying. A lot of people won't be planning for downside. They just get into a long and they don't think about the downside. They don't plan for it. But for me, that's what I like to do. I like to plan for downside, tack on a starter position, and then average those positions down as the play unfolds, right? And so this is kind of what it looks like on NPOC levels. If we do continue to drop, I would look to be longing a majority of these levels right now. Does that mean that they're all going to be profitable right away? No, we could maybe long at 99,492 and it drop all the way down to 95K. But that's not a big deal, because if you're still thinking all-time high breaks, 120 target, or if you're getting an entry at 99 or 95 or an average in between and we run to 120, right? That's what I look to do. I don't really care about the short term. I do like to focus on like local NPOC prints, and within local prints that's like within, the last couple of days are the ones that are within range, right? And right now the ones that are within range are probably these ones to really focus on, all the way up to 107, 877, and then back down to around that 95K area. That's probably going to be a new range that we start to trade if it gives it to us, right? We could just shoot up straight from here. And again, that's why my fingers kind of off the trigger for shorting. We talk about this every single stream. This has been compiled by a lot of different top indicator calls for Bitcoin. The ones that I really like are MVRV, C-score, and CVD, and UPL, right? So those are more of the ones that I like to look at, but this kind of compiles them all together with some different ones as well. It's very, very straightforward. Once we start to get a little bit of that really bright yellow and red is when I'm gonna be looking to scale out of some of my spot positions, right? Now, does this mean that I'm gonna catch the top? Probably not. I don't expect to catch the top, but what I do expect to do is to be selling into strength, right? And this is what Bitcoin top indicator can allow you to do. So something like this, where we can kind of get a little bit more of these bright yellow and just red alerts. Again, it's just more of like a macro tool, high term time frame. I keep it on the 1 week, and that's what really you should. It's a high term time frame anchor setting, right? It gives you that bias, and really my bias is still up. So that means that's why I'm still not shorting very much and still just waiting for drops to be longing into. So that's kind of my thesis going forward. This is what we want on Ethereum. This whole move right here could really be a massive high-term time frame deviation with acceptance back in, and then our next leg higher, which I think happens. Ethereum was so torn to shit. Everybody gave up on Ethereum. Nobody fucking likes Ethereum. All that shit. Here we go at the lows. Ethereum's gonna perform fine, guys. Yes, it's been fucking lagging to Bitcoin, but everything's been lagging to Bitcoin other than select few memes and plays. But the reality is Ethereum is still well established. It will have its time. Most people probably don't have the patience for it to have its time, but again, I know I will. So getting into ETH, we're gonna watch our NPOC levels like normal. New print down here, something like 2408. So that's a new NPOC level that we want to continue to watch, because that's where I want to be longing next, right? I think if Ethereum drops below 2K, things are cooked for a while. So I think this offers the next long entry on Ethereum. And again, it's not gonna hit 2408 perfectly. It may deviate lower into that 2300 area, again, giving us the time to dollar cost average into a play. Not expecting it to go to all-time highs after this hits this, which I know that's what most people think when they see this chart, right? They think, oh, 2408, it's a retest of 2408. He's saying it's a good buy and it's supposed to go to all-time highs. When the reality is it doesn't really look like that, right? This may trade down, and it may take a couple days to trade down to 2408 where it goes sideways, and it gives you some time to dollar cost average into a position, and then something like that, right? That's the reality of how charts actually look. So when you can get into that mindset of giving yourself a window to dollar cost average into an area of interest, you start to think things a little bit easier, right? Getting into my next thesis as well, that kind of goes hand in hand with, me thinking that we kind of range right here. So this is where I think Ethereum starts to range. We have an NPOC print at 2652. We can run up and touch that first before we drop, but I just think we kind of find and establish a new form of support, right? And that's kind of what we're doing between 2400 and about that 2700 on Ethereum. Again, we can trade in here for a little bit. We can trade in here for like a week, couple of days. It really sets us up for a lot of upside, not only on Ethereum, but altcoins, memes, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, shorting ETH, I don't know. I mean, again, it just seems kind of suicidal at this point. This was our last short that got blown out of the water on ETH. Again, didn't take it. Not really planning on taking this one that I create either. But again, it would be something like this. Short entry at that 2652. So again, our long and short are kind of created within that next range, which I think 27 to 24. Again, nothing has really changed. All NPOC level dip retests will be buy opportunities in my opinion. I want to go into BONK, right? So BONK, this was my original entry. So if we get back down into this area, you better believe I'm gonna be adding more, right? And if we drop lower, which I think we had a target at like right around here, I'm gonna be willing to add. I am willing to add on my BONK trade all the way down to this area. And again, maybe even lower, right? So that's my thoughts going forward. I will be down on the initial entries on that trade, but I don't care. I have dry powder now to add in and get that dollar cost average lower, which is what I want. FLOKI or FLOKI. I don't even know how the fuck to say. FLOKI, whatever. My original entry was back in this area after an 8% dip. So again, I don't know if we get the drops that we want, which is crazy because after the 8% dip from my entry, it ran about 20%. So we're getting there, guys. We're getting into that fuck you mode of just higher, higher, and higher. It's not there yet, but I'm telling you, this is gonna be a fun cycle. Not everybody's gonna make money, but it's gonna be a very fun cycle for those that know how to extract it. So on FLOKI, again, I don't know how I wanna trade these yet. Again, I have dollar cost average out of them. I have taken profits on most of them. So again, I would just like retest back to my original entry so that I can add back on, right? So that's how I look to trade. So I am out of TIA 2. This was my trade, but again, a banger trade for some of you guys. I think we were looking for entries, around 260 and, ran all the way up to almost 350. So pretty good move here, guys. So high term time frame, this is why I like TIA. Like this is just a very clear demand zone. Now, if you're jumping into this trade with leverage, right, I think it can kind of range within here before it has its move higher. So be careful, right? Spot buys, all the spot buys in the world between, you know, $3 and $2.30, I think bode really, really well down the road for TIA. But again, you're not going to be in profit right away. You're going to have to dollar cost average over time, and most people aren't willing to do that, right? So TIA is a good example of something that I'm just not interested in anymore. I had the trade, made money on the trade, and it's kind of on to the next. If we do get a retest on this though, yeah, you know, if we can drop all the way back down to my initial entries of that 270, 260, that's where I'll be interested in TIA again. So probably right in this area. So Sol came up and is now retesting, once a support, now a resistance area. So again, just not my area that I want to be bidding into. You know, I would like a retest if we get it, but do we get it? I don't know. These markets are very strong right now. Again, you got to have some exposure, right? We had so long to be buying spot on all this crypto shit. You guys have no excuse to not be long something right now. But yeah, just not an area I'm looking to be buying. We'll go to the 4 hour and see. Yeah, kind of like a new range established. You know, a retest of like that 168 area would probably a decent dip buy. And then from there, 155. So I would say if you get an average between 165 and 150, that would bode really well into this 180 resistance break. I think Sui is this cycle's coin. Mark my words, this thing will fucking fly. I'm not even gonna TA this. I just think this goes above $10. And you know, again, I have a massive spot holding in this. This is my biggest spot holding is Sui. I don't know. I try not to look at Sui too much just because it is one of those ones that does give me anxiety because I have so much money in Sui. But from a TA perspective, again, I just think it does look really good. You know, it was at resistance right here at $3.78, broke above it. Now we're establishing some support above previous resistance and then looking to get that move above previous all-time highs. First target, it's going to be like $8, $10, but you know, I've seen some massive targets on Sui. Man, I'm all for it, baby. Let's go. Okay, it's bouncing a little bit. I think my average on this is like high 30s, low 40s. I don't even remember. I'm still down like 50% last time I looked, but SCI was a bad thesis. The only reason I jumped into it was because I literally thought I could do what Sui was doing. So it was kind of like a counter play, but it ended up playing horribly. But at the end of the day, you know, it is what it is. I do think that SCI sees higher. We kind of had this pattern to where we deviated outside of lows and now kind of working our way to make something inside. And again, you know, you could throw a trend line on this, something like that. You know, I think does break out at some point, but it's not my favorite play, let's just say that. God, dude, this thing's gonna fly. Fartcoin is gonna fucking go so high, guys. Like, and that's what I'm saying, patience with some of this shit. If you jump into a position, you don't need it to be profitable right away. You don't. Fartcoin is just a great example. I think, where did I get it? I was longing Fartcoin back on this right here, right? Ended up selling like in this area, left some on the table, and then re-longed it at this $1 entry. And again, like just look how beautifully it's playing, right? Right here, we have these lows, breaking above that recent resistance, retest here, bounce, retest here, bounce, retest here, bounce, same thing, retest here. I'll be looking to add Fartcoin at like 120, probably 115-ish. So that's kind of where I'll be looking to potentially add Fartcoin again. I think Fartcoin goes, guys. And if you're in a good position, you got a good entry and you don't need to take profits on it, let it go. I'm holding a lot of spot Fartcoin as well. Doge is going to be around forever too, guys. If you got good holdings on Doge, you got good entries on Doge, I think it continues to go too. Clear resistance that I've marked out previously at this level. You know, that was a take profit level from previously down at these lows when we got our entry. We were looking to take profit at 20 and then take profit up at 26. Well, we hit pretty much both take profits. So for me, it's really a no trade right now. I would like a retest of lower. And where's my retest of lower? Where it's going to be where my first target was, which was that 20-cent area. If you get a retest of 20 cents, I'll be interested in Doge again. But until then, not going to just ape right in here. So once again, I appreciate you guys. I will see you over in the Telegram and another fucking awesome week of trading. Let's do it. Peace out.